Greetings of the day. Bonjour. I'm confused as to how to, greet the recruiter when you meet him or her for the first time. This and many more questions come into your head when you start preparing for an interview. These questions can't stop your preparation, but they do hamper it by making you tense. But now, no tension because we at CV Owl have come up with an interview series, the HR Talk, all about the recruitment from the recruiters itself. But before we begin, press the bell icon and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to always stay in touch with us. So, today we have with us Mr. Lennis. Welcome, Lennis.
Thank you, Aditi. How
So,
are you doing?
very good, sir. So, why don't you tell us something about yourself, sir?
Sure. Aditi, firstly, I would like to congratulate CV All for this wonderful initiative. And, I have this great confidence that you guys are doing a great job and don't stop at anything. Continue doing the great work. Well, to tell you about myself, I started my career with the Armed Forces, which was around 20 years back. And I did a stint with the Indian Army for around 8 years and then moved on to the corporate world. My first stint in the corporate world was with human resources. And I took up human resources as a career. And my first assignment was with the British Council. I was heading the HR operations there. I did a 5.5 year stint with HR operations with a global organization, and then moved on to an Indian educational company and was heading the HR there for 4 years. Uh, till in 2019, I felt the need to kind of take the plunge as an entrepreneur myself. So have started an HR services organization by the name of Urban HR Services Private Limited. And we provide a lot of HR services under the whole HR umbrella, starting from strategic HR consulting to coaching, to also assisting students, preparing for interviews, learning and development solutions, digital HR, and the works. So a range of services. It's been a year now and the going has been great. So that's about me.
So, that's great to know about you, and we are so glad to have you here with us. Your experience and your knowledge is going to help all of us, I think. So, thank you for joining us.
Sure. Thank you.
So, we won't take much of your time. We'll have a small set of questions for you. So, starting off with the questions, basically, it's about a resume question that we usually get from the candidates. It's like, should we be mentioning our date of birth on our resume?
All right. So before I take on that question, let me kind of go on to a little facts and certain things that your students or you would be already aware of. But I think it's important for those who are not aware of. Where did this word resume originate from? All right, and what is the difference between a resume and a CV? Right, and when we talk about CV, what is exactly a CV? So things like that. Let me kind of quickly go into that. So a resume is actually has originated from the Latin word resume, resumere. So re and sumere are two different words joined together. Re is back and sumere is take. So you're actually giving a snapshot of what you have done about yourself. So that is the word resume mean, right? And it is also originated from a French word resume, right? So, and in French, it means summary. So that's resume. Now, how did this originate? It originated the first time as of in a recorded version is originated first time in the 1480s when Leonardo da Vinci actually wrote a resume of himself and sent to his prospective employer about how good he was and his skills and his experience. Right. So that was the first formalized resume as history tells us. Now there would be other versions of this, but this is one of the famous versions. Now what is a CV? Right. Now, CV is different from a resume, where a resume is a shortened version of your experience and skills, while a CV is a much more detailed version. CV runs into pages. Now, you could see that in Indian context, these things are used interchangeably. A lot of people use very loosely the word resume or CV in the way that they like. But they are two different words. A CV generally is much longish, and a resume is a shortened version of your career, which runs into maximum 1 or 2 pages, while a CV may run into a few more pages. So that's what, that is what the difference is. Now, I wanted to explain this so that one understand the context that we are talking about. Now, to answer your question about whether date of birth would need to be mentioned on the resume or not, I would want to understand uh, where is this concern coming from? Because of the fact that if it is coming from the fact that people are going to prejudice you because of your age, or because you're too young or because you're too old, then let me tell you that a lot of global organizations actually have diversity and inclusion as a very integral part of their operations, and they integrate it in their recruitment process also. Now, I would want to ask those candidates who have these concerns about mentioning their date of birth on their resume or not. They would probably make it through, the shortlisting stage if they don't have the date of birth mentioned, right? Because different organizations do it differently. People don't even bother to look at the date of birth for a lot of organizations. But a lot of organizations do look at the date of birth, and they would make a judgment saying that, hey, this candidate has not even mentioned the date of birth on the resume, and which means that they don't even know how to write a resume. Now, this is a judgment that some people may make. So you would make through the shortlisting round, but at the interview stage, I'm sure you would be asked, for those companies where date of birth is a must, they would ask you kindly, why haven't you not mentioned the date of birth? But in India, a lot of organizations that I have been part of, and I've seen both. I have seen where date of birth don't matter at all, where diversity and inclusion is a very, very integral part of the organization. There, date of birth don't matter, but organizations where um, date of birth matter, they look at it, and it is critical that you need to mention the date of birth. And they make a choice also, depending on how old the candidate is or how young the candidate is, and so on and so forth.
So I think
So I, what I would say is, I would end this by saying that the candidate needs to judge this by the nature of the organization. So there isn't a one standard fit for all.
so. This puts candidates in the decision-making point where they have to decide, looking at the organization that they're applying to, that if they, want to include the date of birth on their resumes or not.
Absolutely, Aditi. In fact, I have been part of an organization where we did recruitments without even asking the candidates to send us a resume.
That's great. I guess, that would be a dream organization for all the candidates out there who fear making a resume for themselves to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are organizations who have an application form, and it's an application form which starts with questions like, why do you think that you will be successful in this job? What are some of the critical factors that you think that will make you a success? So what that does is that you need to read the job description very, very carefully. You would need to relate it to the kind of organization that you're applying for, and you need to tailor make your responses, based on these two parameters. So it's just not one standard resume and you just send it across to a whole range of people, as we see nowadays. All of us do it. We just, without even knowing the name. I mean, that is another trend that has started now, where recruiters or prospective recruiters, actually, they send out job roles on WhatsApp, on many various other social media, to tell candidates, so there is a job opportunity. And when the candidate asks them, which organization are we talking about, they are not willing to share. Now, my problem is that um, you're if you're not passionate about a certain industry or kind of a nature of work, for you, working in a Coke or working in a Google or working in an Apple or working in an Indian organization like the Tatas or the Bharti Airtel doesn't make any difference. What you're looking for is just a job.
So, organization and industry matters, and the candidates actually, need to introspect themselves and analyze themselves as to what suits them best. That would
Absolutely.
facilitate them only in the interviews and in the future also, once they join the organizations and start working, because that's what's gonna keep their quality of work higher, I think.
Yeah, and motivated and engaged when their value system and the organization's value system are, meeting at some point in some point somewhere, then you engage employees much more. They are passionate about their work. But if one is not passionate, they get disengaged with the work. So this is what my experience has have been.
That's great to know about your experiences. So, moving on to the next question, we usually send a cover letter when we are applying for jobs, via when we're sending our resumes via mail. So, what should be included in ideal resume is sometimes what crosses our mind. So, if you could simplify that question for us.
What should be included in a resume?
Sorry, in an ideal cover letter. I'm so sorry.
In an ideal cover letter. Okay. So, see again, cover letter, if you send cover letters unsolicited, which means that the organization does not require a cover letter, and if you send a cover letter, a lot of times what I've seen is that gets just discarded or dumped. People don't even look at the cover letter. But then there are organizations who insist saying that you need to send the cover letter, right? So when you need to send the cover letter, what you need to include is a snapshot of who you are. So a cover letter is like your friend who is introducing you, and you is your resume. Just look at it in that perspective. So in couple of paragraphs, how would you kind of uh, talk about yourself? What is the skill set that you bring? What are the kind of experiences that you've been exposed to? What are the qualifications that you have? All that in couple of paragraphs. And why do you think that, most crucial part, why do you think that you are a fit for that role and that organization? So people are interested to know about that. Why do you think that you are a fit? Now, how do you kind of arrive at that? Very important is spend some time looking at the website, looking at the various social media channels of the organization. Look at the kind of work that they are doing. Does that strike a chord with the kind of person that you are? Does that strike a chord with where you want to reach in a couple of years or 5 years or your end goal? Does that all make a match? Does it kind of build a story, right? Take some time off and think about all those things and bring out the points, and then maybe give it some time while you're mulling over it. So it's not an exercise that can be done within a matter of few hours. Spend few days on it, because what you're doing is you're going to be investing in your career, and a wrong move, obviously you're going to learn, but it's best avoided. So what is the best way, or what is the best approach that you can take when you're writing a cover letter? So bring all these concepts together and make it as brief as possible. So there are, again, with students, they apply for, various universities also across the globe. And there too, they're asked to kind of uh, really bring about their experience, their knowledge, their skills. And there, a very important factor that comes into perspective is the number of words. There is a limitation, right? So how briefly can you bring out your experience, your skills, and your knowledge, and why you think the perfect fit for that role and that organization is what you should cover in the cover letter.
So I think, talking about resumes and cover letter, the main thing that comes into play is how tactfully you design them. Like you have to include everything, but yet you have a limitation to how long it can be. So it's
Absolutely, and you need to kind of think through, because most times it's all done in a fast forward mode. You just do it within a couple of minutes or couple of hours. I would say when you kind of really make your cover letter or your resume, invest some time, do it over a period of day. Now when you would have made your resume or your cover letter and park it, next day revisit it, and you will see yourself you would want to make more changes to it, how you can make it more brief. And as we go along, you'll see that it gets even better and better, and the number of words reduces.
and gradually getting the best piece out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have solved, not solved, but made this resume and cover letter an easier thing for most of us now. So let's move on to the interviews. That's
Sure.
the next process once we get shortlisted. So, what do you think are some necessary things that should be kept in mind while preparing for an interview?
You need to know everything about the organization. If not everything, a lot of it about the organization. I've had the experience of interviewing candidates where candidates walk in without having a zilch idea of what the organization is all about. They're looking for a job, right? And they're going to be soon unhappy, because if, again, as I said, if their value system, if their beliefs, if their goals don't match up, then you're going to have a disgruntled employee. This is not good for the organization, not good for the employee themselves. So number one, you need to know about the organization. Do some background check, in the sense, know about the organization from people who have worked in the organization. Connect with people on LinkedIn who seem to have worked in that organization. Ask them honest feedback about the organization. So you're much more better prepared. The set of questions that you have in mind that you're going to ask the recruiter or the person that you're meeting, and these need not be standard questions that you're going to pull off the web. These should be genuine doubts that you have in your mind. And no question is good or bad. These are your unique questions. So be prepared for those questions. And very, very important, if you have made your own resume, then you don't need to bother. But if you haven't, then you're going to be caught. So at least you need to go through your resume line by line. I've had again the opportunity of interviewing candidates where in their hobbies, they mention certain things, and I asked them, okay, reading is one of your hobby. Can you tell me the last book that you have read? And they are at a loss of words. And then they say, oh, what I meant by reading was I read the newspaper. All right. So, and so things like that. So a lot of things are mentioned on the resume, because as we know, with today's world, a lot of things are just picked up from here. There are standard templates available. There are organizations which provide resume writing services, right? And they make the resume for you, and you don't even bother to kind of read through the resume. So one needs to kind of read the resume, understand, and it should be a reflection of who you are. It shouldn't be a reflection of who, it shouldn't be a reflection of who has written the resume, right? So one needs to kind of read the resume, prepare in those parameters that I mentioned, and then you are in your free flow state. As one says, then when you're interviewing, they wouldn't kind of notice the difference between a dancer and a dance. So when you notice somebody who is dancing gracefully, you wouldn't be able to distinguish between the dancer and the dance, because they are in one sync. That's what needs to happen in an interview.
True, I think. And when we're talking about people taking help of experts in writing resume, somewhere it's okay if you're taking the help, but sometimes people take it for granted that okay, we are paying it, the entire work is to be done by the other person, and we just need to take the copy and go for the interviews. They fail to understand that it's their own paper, like it's a representation of their own selves that they're going to portray to the organization, and hence they mess it up there. They don't read it and they go
Absolutely.
unprepared.
Absolutely, Aditi. In fact, there are words that are used in certain resumes. Strategy is an overused word, and words like that. And when you speak to certain candidates, they don't even understand the meaning of those words. So you know for sure that this is something that has been written by somebody else. And secondly, you need to be creative, but you don't need to show somebody else's creativeness on that resume. Please show your creativeness. How creative are you? How creatively can you market your resume? That is what is important, not just copy paste from somewhere else.
True. And especially, in colleges, what students do, one of the friends makes the resume and all of them copy it blindly without even seeing what has been written. I remember one of the recruiters telling me that, one of the candidates even forgot to change the name. He literally just copied the resume completely and
Oh,
brought the same copy to the interview. So I think that's one of a blunder that, one can do.
absolutely.
So moving on, about talking about the interviews. So what's that one question that you always ask in an interview?
Um, well, I don't have a questionnaire or a question bank that I refer to. I go with the flow, but then I'm very cautious about the fact that I want the candidate to really showcase their best. So this is not a stress interview. Like when I was interviewed for the armed forces, the nature of the job is so different that you have to undergo a stress interview as well. They kind of really put you in a stressful situation, and they kind of ask you to kind of answer certain questions. But that's not what is required in a corporate scenario in most jobs. So what I do is I want to put the candidate at ease. So first and foremost is I start with small talk and I let the candidate just relax so that the candidate can give out and I talk about things that they probably are much more much more comfortable talking, and something that they don't need any preparation, something about their last job experience, something about their family background, something about their school, something about their friends. What, even though the question is very a simple question, but the responses, what I'm looking for is also the behavior that is displayed by the candidate during the course of responding to that, right? What is it that they have done uh, with their friends, and all those things, how do they spend their time? All those things add up to the kind of personality that those candidates are. So I look for these simple questions. These are very simple questions, but that the responses that they give are very important for me. So that is one thing that I do. The second thing is, as I mentioned earlier, I look at things that a lot of people may not be even prepared to answer, something about their hobbies, something that they may have written in the resume about strategy, and I ask them, for you, what does the strategy mean? Now I'm looking for, say, a customer service executive, and I'm interviewing a customer service executive, and there are strategy 10 times mentioned in that resume. So I really want to know from the candidate, what does strategy mean for him? So, you know, those are some of the questions that I read between the lines, and I look for certain things to kind of really look at whether the individual has made their resume and whether they know what they are talking about when we look at the resume. So I don't have a standard template.
So that eases up the answer for us, that what recruiters generally ask in the interview. So we have understood that you have to go with the flow and you just need to be prepared well as to knowing yourself in a good way so that you can represent yourself there. So there are no hard and
Absolutely.
fast rules that this question will be asked. It's just you about whom it will be discussed throughout.
Yeah. And what I've noticed, Aditi, is that if you don't lie in your resume, if you're not kind of just because nowadays a lot of technology is also used for shortlisting. Resume parsing is one such technology that a lot of people use because they pick up keywords. Not to have those keywords, you kind of add certain things so that your resume gets picked up. But when you are asked questions on that, you're not prepared. So when you are writing your own resume and you're writing honestly about what you have done and who you are, that's it. The job is done.
So I
So you're
think
prepared.
that is how we are going to, move a step ahead every time preparing.
Yes.
So, not taking much of your time, we'll move to the last question that we have scheduled for today. Uh,
Sure.
During interviews, as we've discussed, there are different sort of questions. There are some common questions that are asked in many interviews, how much salary do you expect? So, how can one tackle such type of questions in an interview?
Well, in most jobs, there is a budget that is catered for a certain job, and nobody is going to kind of offer you more than the budget, right? A lot of jobs have even salaries advertised so that they know that, okay, there might be a difference of 10% here or there, but then people who apply for the job know that this is the range of salary that one kind of looks at. Now, what you need to kind of really look at is some industry benchmarks. Okay. So even if that particular job may not have advertised the salary, but if you do some research, on the web, you will know what is the kind of salary that is offered, at least the range of salary that is offered in that job. Now, another practice that organizations in India at least do is that they kind of look at your current salary and then they negotiate, irrespective of what the budget is. You should be within the budget, but then they look at your current salary and they say, okay, 10%, 15% hike or 20% hike and so on and so on, right? Now, that is a tricky one. So I wouldn't say, again, there isn't a standard answer, and I'm kind of completely against the standardization and putting people in boxes, right? You need to know yourself, what is the bare minimum that you need, what is the benchmark that you need for you to take that job. Now, some people say that, hey, listen, salary is not a constraint for me. The exposure to this kind of organization is going to add a lot of value to me. I'm going to be learning a lot. So even if my salary is a little lower for me, I'm okay. I'm okay to kind of. So a lot of people have said that they want to intern in an organization like Google, even after 5 to 7 years of experience. They want to intern. Now, why do they want to intern in an organization like Google? They want to intern there because they think that they're going to learn a lot of things from that organization. Or they want to kind of intern and say, the Infosys or the Tatas or organizations like that. Now, for them, salary doesn't matter. But there are a group of people who say that, listen, I have to pay my own rent, I have to take care of my family, and I have to do this. So what's the bare minimum that I need to have for me to, make that balance between learning as well as earning? So then I need to take a call based on these parameters. So one needs to kind of come out with your own answer, keeping those things in mind. And you need to be honest, because honesty is seen. When you're honest and when you are forthrightly putting across things across the table, I have noticed, at least in my case, what I have also done is I have been very honest to tell the candidates, listen, I totally understand what you're saying, but at the moment we can't offer you that. But we have gone back to the candidates 6 or 8 or 10 months after, or even a year after, to say, hey, listen, we interviewed a year back and this was the issue. Now I think we can offer you, are you ready to make that switch? So when you're honest, things are much more clearer. So, and the logic and where you're coming from is also most times seen. So I think we need to be very clear in our head, firstly, of why we require that. I've seen a lot of candidates who earn X amount and they ask for a 50% hike from what they are earning, right? And when we kind of ask them the reason, then they don't have any reason. They say, my friend earns that much and I think I'm worth that much. Well, that may be convincing for him, but it's not convincing for the person who's hearing it in most cases. So that is, something that may falter. So you would need to be very clear about why you're looking for that kind of salary range, at least in your own head, and then approach the question.
So I think, sir, today you've eased a lot of questions for all of us by providing answers to them. Maybe not the direct ones, but, showing us the right way as to how we have to move ahead and do the preparation and focus and prepare for our career, basically. So I think it was a great session with you, having answers
Absolutely.
to all the questions.
Absolutely, Aditi, because I believe that if I answer those 5 questions, when there is a 6th question that is asked, you don't have an answer to that. So I totally believe in the fact that you have to kind of enable people to at least think. So, and you have to come out with your answers. I am no one, I am not a guru or, anyone to kind of give somebody the answers. I don't know the answers. I am myself in the learning path. I don't know the answers, but one can kind of really apply the learnings and the experience to kind of think in the right direction. So at least people can come out with their right answers.
So I think, that's gonna help so many people out there, and they're gonna perform a little better maybe in the interviews and their resumes and CV preparation. So thank you so much for joining us today for this session. We're glad
Thank
to
you
have
so
you
much.
here.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure interacting with you, and all the very best to you and CVO.
Thank you so much. Before we end this session, there's this small reminder for our audience. Please do like and share the video. This keeps us motivated to keep making new such videos. You may also drop in your feedback or any questions that you would want us to ask on your behalf in the comment section below. Thank you so much.